Have you noticed that each time you walk down the grocery aisles, those prices just keep creeping up? A single bag of groceries feels like it costs more than a full cart did a few years ago. But why is this happening? Why does it seem like no matter what, food prices keep climbing higher? Today, we're breaking down the real reasons behind the rising cost of food. From global challenges like climate change to the hidden factors most people never think about. And stick around because we'll share some practical tips that can help you save on your next grocery trip. First off, let's talk about why food prices fluctuate so much. Food costs are influenced by a mix of supply and demand, production costs, and distribution channels. When farmers and producers face higher expenses like paying more for fertilizer, water, or labor, these costs often get passed down to us, the consumers. Essentially, if it costs more to produce food, you can bet it's going to cost more at the store. But there's a lot more at play here than just basic economics. Let's dig a little deeper. One of the biggest drivers of rising food prices is climate change. Over the past decade, we've seen extreme weather events become far more common. Droughts, wildfires, hurricanes, and floods are hitting agricultural regions hard. Think about California, one of the largest fruit and vegetable producers in the world. Persistent droughts and wildfires have destroyed crops, reduced water supply, and driven up production costs. Similarly, unpredictable rainfall patterns in places like India and Brazil have affected staple crops like rice and coffee. When crops fail or yield less due to climate extremes, the supply of those foods drops and prices rise. Another effect of climate change is on livestock. Cattle, for instance, need a lot of water and food. In times of drought, feeding livestock becomes more expensive, which then impacts the prices of beef, milk, and dairy products. And this is not just limited to meat. Fish prices are also rising as warmer waters disrupt natural habitats and decrease fish populations. So, as climate change continues to impact natural resources, food prices are expected to keep going up. Beyond the impact of climate, the global food supply chain has faced several disruptions over the last few years. We all remember the COVID-19 pandemic. It didn't just stop people from going out, it disrupted nearly every stage of food production and delivery. Factories shut down, transportation slowed, and people stayed home. This caused a massive backlog and created higher demand for the food that was available, which led to higher prices. And then there's the ongoing issue of global trade policies and tariffs. Many countries rely on imported goods, including food. When there are tariffs or restrictions on imports and exports, the prices of these goods tend to increase. For example, wheat imports from countries in Eastern Europe have been impacted by geopolitical tensions, and that drives up the price of wheat-based products globally. On top of that, we have a shortage of shipping containers, high fuel costs, and sometimes even labor shortages at ports. All of these supply chain disruptions make it more costly to transport food, leading to higher prices for consumers. Another factor often overlooked in food pricing is labor. The food industry, from farms to grocery stores, depends heavily on human labor. With labor shortages becoming a global issue, especially after the pandemic, farms and processing plants have had to raise wages to attract workers. That's particularly true in sectors like meat processing and agriculture, which are facing severe worker shortages. This rise in wages is a double-edged sword. On one hand, it helps workers earn a fair wage. On the other, those increased labor costs are passed on to consumers in the form of higher prices. Additionally, there's been a growing trend toward fair trade and ethical sourcing, where companies commit to paying fair wages to their suppliers. While this is a positive move for workers, it can lead to higher prices for ethically sourced products, as these costs are also transferred to consumers. Here's something you might not think of immediately: oil prices. You may wonder, what does oil have to do with food? Well, a lot. Food production and distribution require significant amounts of energy, especially in modern agriculture. Tractors, harvesters, and transportation trucks rely on fuel to get food from farms to factories and, eventually, to stores. When oil prices go up, so do transportation and energy costs across the supply chain. which directly affects food prices. Take the example of imported fruits. If a tropical fruit like mango has to be shipped from South America to North America, the transportation costs become a key part of the price. As fuel prices fluctuate, so does the cost of getting that fruit to you, and often you end up paying the difference at the checkout counter. Now, let's talk about processed and packaged foods. With busy lifestyles, more people are buying packaged meals, ready-to-eat snacks, and other processed foods. While these items are convenient, they usually cost more due to the added processing and packaging expenses. On top of that, companies spend a lot on marketing these products, and those costs get rolled into the price you pay. Interestingly, demand for these convenience foods has increased, which has led to greater competition and sometimes higher prices. It's a trend that started years ago, but got a big boost during the pandemic. And as more people turn to processed options, companies can justify higher prices because they know consumers are willing to pay for the convenience. Another often overlooked factor in rising food costs is food waste. Studies estimate that nearly a third of all food produced globally is wasted. This waste isn't just in homes, but also in transportation, grocery stores, and even restaurants. When food is thrown away, the resources used to produce, transport, and store that food are also wasted, leading to financial losses. To make up for these losses, companies might increase prices to balance their bottom line. And it's not just companies that bear the cost of food waste. Consumers also pay more. As a society, we're spending more to produce food that ultimately gets thrown out, driving up demand and prices for the remaining available food. Reducing food waste at home and supporting companies that take measures to minimize waste can help reduce these hidden costs. So, what can you do to avoid breaking the bank at the grocery store? Let's go through some practical tips to help you save. First, make a grocery list and stick to it. Impulse buys can quickly add up, so knowing what you need helps you avoid unnecessary purchases. Second, consider buying in bulk for items you frequently use. Bulk items often have a lower price per unit and can help you save over time. Look for discounts and coupons. Many stores offer loyalty programs or digital coupons that can save you a significant amount each week. If you're willing to plan meals around seasonal produce, you'll often find better prices. Seasonal fruits and vegetables are generally cheaper and fresher. And don't forget about store brands. Many grocery stores have their own brand, which is often as good as name brands but costs less. Try a few and see if you like them. It could mean big savings over time. Rising food prices are a complex issue with many factors at play, from climate change to oil prices and labor shortages. But understanding why prices are increasing can help you make informed choices and, hopefully, reduce some of the strain on your wallet.